Hello everyone, it is the Holy Crusader here, and today I'm just going to be doing a little bit of an analysis on Sephiroth's trailer. So excited for this character to be in Smash. Final Fantasy is one of my favorite series of all time, and Final Fantasy VII alone is one of my favorite games of all time, so I figured I'd go through, talk about some of his moves, how I think they might work, where they come from, as well as the references that the trailer makes to Final Fantasy VII and its extended universe. I think it goes without saying that obviously this is going to have spoilers for not only Final Fantasy VII Original, but anything else in the Final Fantasy VII universe. So the movie, which is Advent Children, some of the other games that it's in, so Crisis Core, Cydia, and a little bit of spoilers for Final Fantasy VII Remake. So if you just want to learn more about the character and you've already played the game, or you don't intend on playing the game and just are excited about seeing him being in Smash, let's get right to it. So we see everyone getting bodied here. This is just a reference back to the original World of Light trailer. I thought it was pretty cool they put the DLC characters in here. Like you saw, obviously they had the hero from Dragon Quest, and then we'll see in a second that Banjo's in here. Yeah, there's Banjo. And then One Winged Angel kicks in. So, something I just want to touch on really quickly is this is the first time we see Cloud in a CG trailer. If we recall, when Cloud was announced for Smash 4, he actually didn't get a CG trailer. All of his footage was in-game. So I just thought it was pretty cool that this was the first time we got to see him in a CG trailer.
Sephiroth.
Then I get this beautiful shot of Sephiroth. With the sick guitar solo in the background. So, let's go back here a second. So, Sephiroth descends into battle. The reason why they pick the terminology descends to battle is Sephiroth is kind of known as the one-winged angel, and so that's where the descends comes from, like he's descending like an angel into battle. And so these shots here, let me just play it again for you so you can see it again. These are actually straight out of Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, when Sephiroth is first revealed to Cloud when he's resurrected at the end of the movie. So I thought that was really cool. It was pretty much a shot-for-shot remake. There's a lot of shot-for-shot remake stuff from Advent Children in this trailer, and I'll point it out as we go. So this shot is probably the most notorious as far as Final Fantasy VII Original goes. The first time that you see Sephiroth in an FMV or a full motion video is this cutscene right here in the original. So in the original, Sephiroth burns down Cloud's hometown as well as another party member. Her name is Tifa. He burns down their hometown of Nibelheim, and in the fire, Cloud sees Sephiroth, and he looks at the camera. And that's what this angle is paying homage to, is the first time that Sephiroth was seen in a cutscene. So the range on this is wild. This is almost halfway. It might be halfway across the stage. So obviously he's going to have the most range out of any sword character there is. It looks like he's a little bit on the slow side though, if we watch this again. But the moves still come out pretty fast, so we'll see how, if he's broken when he comes out. So another cool move, I believe this is a forward air that he does here, is that his sword sticks into the stage and allows him to kind of hang there for a second. There aren't a lot of moves in the game that allow people to do this, and I don't think there's any moves that also happen to be forward airs. Most of them are back airs. I could be wrong on that though, but I'm fairly certain that this is the first forward air that we'll see where a character can stick into the stage. Perfect. So this wall of hexagons, he doesn't actually use this move in the original. The only thing that he uses that's kind of close to this is wall, and basically that's just a barrier that brings damage down that's dealt to you. This is actually a reference to a move that he has in Final Fantasy Dissidia, and the move in that game is called Scintilla, and it acts in exactly the same way. It's just a physical counter. So I thought that was pretty cool that they referenced his Dissidia move. So this isn't really a reference or anything, kind of just a cool editing technique. On Midgar, Odin can appear and he can slice the stage in half, and they just edited it to make it look like Sephiroth did. I thought that was a very, very cool touch. So this stance is, I'm not sure if it's common among people who are disciplined with swords, but in terms of its uniqueness to Sephiroth, Sephiroth takes this stance in the last battle of Final Fantasy VII Original versus Cloud, and essentially what happens is Cloud and Sephiroth fight at the bottom, what seems to be the bottom of the northern crater, and that's actually the only time in the entire game where you just fight Sephiroth one-on-one. There's no gimmicks or anything. He takes this stance. And I believe he also takes the stance when you fight him in the Kingdom Hearts series. Not entirely sure on that though. So this move, I'll kind of come back to it when we see it a little bit later, but I'm going to reference it as Shadow Flare, and I'll expand on why I do that when we see it again. Again, that up tilt, or what seems like an up tilt, that's gonna, the range on that thing is insane. Super crazy range. So we see this Shadow Flare move again, and all it seems like it's going to do is it's going to act as a counter to projectiles, so it would probably stop your opponent from sending out projectiles for so long. The reason I call it Shadow Flare is because every game that Sephiroth is in, most of the time he has Shadow Flare. However, Shadow Flare doesn't really act as a counter. Shadow Flare is just a powerful magic-based move, which is why I'm inclined to say that this might actually be Pale Horse. I believe that Pale Horse is a counter that Safer Sephiroth uses in Final Fantasy VII Original. I could be wrong on that though. And even if this does turn out to be Pale Horse looks nothing like this. In the original, he just sticks his hand out and a black beam emerges from his hand and he hits the party member that he targets. So, not too sure what this move is going to be called, but regardless, it looks pretty good. So here we have a glimpse at the stage he's going to come with. I would assume that it's going to be called Planet's Core, because that's where most of these, you'll see the background change. That's where most of the background takes place. This specific part takes place during the last room in the final dungeon where you fight Genova Synthesis. Specifically on that platform is where you fight Genova Synthesis. So I thought that was a cool little detail that they threw in. And then we see the Highwind flying out of the northern crater. I thought that was a very, very cool touch. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So obviously this is the bigger reference in this shot is that in Cloud's, this is actually a perfect shot. In Cloud's original trailer, when he was revealed for Smash 4, is there's a shot of Cloud carrying Zelda, and he kind of puts her in the water, and that's a reference to when Aerith gets killed by Sephiroth. In the original game, he lays Aerith into the ocean. And so this is a reference to the scene where she actually gets killed. As Sephiroth flies down from the sky in the Temple of the Ancients, and he stabs her. Or the City of the Ancients, sorry. The smaller reference, though, is actually the attack that he uses. So he doesn't actually plunge his sword into the ground when he stabs Aerith. He just pierces her flesh. So this move actually looks a lot to me like Hell's Gate. So Hell's Gate is a move that he has in Final Fantasy VII Dissidia, which mechanically works the same. He jumps into the sky and then he comes back down to the ground and he smashes into the ground with his sword and it cracks the ground. So my theory is that in a similar manner to how Cloud's attacks are improved by his limit break, when Sephiroth goes into his one-winged angel form, I imagine that all of his moves are going to be powered up, and that this we're really going to see like the real version of Hell's Gate. Because Hell's Gate, not only does he crack the ground, but also like these rock pillars stick out of it. So I wouldn't be surprised if in his one-winged angel form, this move gets enhanced by having rock pillars come out of the ground when he smashes. So here we just kind of have Sephiroth being a badass. So this is the mechanic that I was talking about, his one-winged angel mechanic. I honestly don't know how it's going to work. I'm not really going to theorize how it's going to work. I'm just going to go into what this is kind of referencing. So he's not really depicted with a black angel's wing until the extended universe games, like Crisis Core, Advent Children, so on and so forth. He's depicted in Final Fantasy VII Original with actually a more demonic-looking wing. And I was a little surprised that they actually ended up giving him the wing. At least when I saw it in the original trailer. When I watched it again, I really, really began to realize how much of this stuff was just straight out of Advent Children. And I feel like that's probably why they gave him the wing. Not only do they give him kind of the Advent Children-esque getup, but also the version of One-Winged Angel playing in the background isn't the original version of One-Winged Angel. It's actually a recomposition done for the Advent Children movie. So something I didn't see people talking about, and let me see if I can get a good shot of it here, is that in his one-winged angel form, when he uses his, what I'm going to assume is his side B, is it looks like he's going to be able to change directions with it and have it kind of be omnidirectional, which is really cool. On another side note is that this move is actually called Octaslash, and although he's not depicted with Octaslash in Final Fantasy VII Original, it became a staple of his in pretty much every other game. So he has it in Crisis Core, he has it in every Dissidia, I believe he even has it in Kingdom Hearts. Not 100% sure about the Kingdom Hearts part, but the other games he definitely has Octaslash, and it's really no surprise to see that he also has it in Smash. So here we have a shot of Sephiroth looking upon a meteor falling down. This is a reference to Final Fantasy VII Original, when Sephiroth uses the black materia to call a meteor from space to crash into the Earth, or Gaia as they call it in Final Fantasy VII. This is a reference to right at the end of the game, before the meteor drops right in front of Midgar. So we see Sephiroth use this fucking gigantic magic-based attack. So, if I had to theorize on what this was, I'm gonna theorize that this, when Sephiroth is in his one-winged angel form, this giant fire attack is gonna replace his shadow counter. In terms of where this move came from and what this is a reference to, just like the Shadow Flare move, I'm not entirely certain because Sephiroth doesn't use a whole lot of magic, especially when he's depicted like this. He tends to use more magic in Final Fantasy VII Original when he's depicted as Bizarro Sephiroth and Safer Sephiroth. But he's more so a physical attacker when he's depicted like this. Like in Advent Children, I'm not sure that he uses any magic. However, in Remake, in the fight against him in Remake, he does use a lot of magic. So this could be a reference to Remake, even though most of his getup seems Advent Children-esque. So if I had to theorize of this being anything, it could be Fyraja. He does use that in Remake. I believe he has it as a ranged move in Dissidia, which the Final Fantasy VII original equivalent would be Fire 3. I could also see it being called Flare, because Flare is just a really, really powerful non-elemental magic-based attack in the Final Fantasy series as a whole. So I really wouldn't be surprised if they called it either Flare or Fyraja, because pretty much Sephiroth isn't known for using either, so them calling it whatever, I can lean either way. And so we have these absolutely badass shots of him just destroying the entire cast. And he just fucking straight up kills Mario. So this is a reference to the Advent Children movie. During Cloud and Sephiroth's fight, Sephiroth actually impales Cloud on his sword and lifts him up into the air, which is a callback to the original Final Fantasy VII, where Sephiroth does the same thing in the Nibelheim Mako reactor, except in the original Final Fantasy VII, Cloud is able to muster enough strength to pick Sephiroth's sword up and throw him into the reactor below. And then turns out Mario didn't actually die. I thought that was pretty dark even for Sephiroth. So that entire fight scene, pretty much shot for shot, with a little bit of exceptions here and there, is straight out of Advent Children. Okay. Let's talk about Omnislash version 5. So to do that, we have to talk about the original Omnislash. The original Omnislash was Cloud's level 4 limit break in the original Final Fantasy VII, and you got it from the Colosseum in the Gold Saucer. Cloud isn't actually depicted with Omnislash version 5 until Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. So what's actually going on here? If for those who aren't really familiar with Advent Children, I'll kind of explain to you why he has all these blue swords kind of just going around him. A lot of people seem confused about this. So, let me see if I can get a good shot of it. Here we go. So, in Final Fantasy VII Original, or in Cloud's normal costume in Smash, he uses the Buster Sword. After Final Fantasy VII Original, he doesn't use it anymore. He uses this new sword that he made. I'm not sure if it has a name or not. If it does, then it escapes me at this time. But essentially is that this giant sword actually has more swords inside of it. And when he kind of undoes this latch, that kind of gives him access to all the swords that this bigger sword houses. So that's where all these swords come from. Is essentially he splits his big sword up into a bunch of smaller swords. Now, this kind of shot, I guess, is, again, straight out of Advent Children. This is how Cloud defeats Sephiroth, is he splits all of his swords up, and he uses Omni Slash version 5, and he goes from sword to sword stabbing Sephiroth, which in and of itself is a callback to the original Final Fantasy VII, where Cloud kills Sephiroth with Omni Slash. There's no other attack that you can use except for Omni Slash. Fun fact though, if you wait long enough in the final battle in Final Fantasy VII Original, Sephiroth will actually attack you first, but Cloud will counter back without Omni Slash, just with a regular physical attack, and that'll end the battle anyway. Again, this part is just a straight shot for shot part from Advent Children.
思い出の中にじっとしていてくれ。
私は思い出にはならないさ。
So again, just a little bit of a fun fact. The lyrics in One Winged Angel from Final Fantasy VII Original and Final Fantasy VII Advent Children are actually different. So the version that was used in this trailer was the Advent Children version, and the lyrics "Noli manere, manere in memoria" actually mean won't remain in memory. So that's essentially just hinting, or I guess outright saying, the line that Sephiroth says, "I will never be a memory." And again, this next part is straight out of Advent Children. When Sephiroth dies in Advent Children, he puts his wing around him and he dissipates. This part, though, is a wonderful, wonderful homage to Final Fantasy VII Original. So, the original final boss in Final Fantasy VII is Sephiroth in this form, which is called Safer Sephiroth. And the camera angle for the fight is much like how you see Cloud lined up, is you just have your 3 party members lined up in front of Sephiroth, and it's this really, really well choreographed fight. For at least for 1997, it was well choreographed, and we kind of see these symbols kind of lining up around him. That is a reference to Safer Sephiroth's ultimate attack, Supernova. So Supernova is Sephiroth's ultimate attack, and it is actually the longest single animation in any video game ever. It still holds that record to date. It's about a 4-minute long animation of a giant comet sweeping through the universe, or the solar system rather, and just eliminating every single planet, and then it crashes into the sun, and then the sun begins to implode on itself, and that explosion wipes out all the other planets that were remaining, and it also hits your party. So, I'm gonna assume that Sephiroth's final smash is gonna be Supernova, and I am so fucking hyped. So that is about it for the trailer. After this, the trailer ends and it gives the release date of December 2020. Super, super excited. Oh my goodness. So if you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys want to see more of this kind of breaking down in trailers and analysis of stuff, most of that would probably be Final Fantasy because I know a lot about that series, but maybe some other trailers and stuff too. Coming out today, we'll see how Sephiroth actually works, how his mechanics work, so I'll probably stream that live if you guys are interested in seeing that. And that is the end of the video, my friends. Please, please, please remember to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you guys are excited for Sephiroth to come to Smash. If you guys caught a reference that maybe I didn't, also leave that in the comments down below. This is the Holy Crusader, signing out, and remember, live easy out there.